Hello all, and welcome to today's Beer Retrospective. And why am I calling it a retrospective instead of a review? Well, this is the last video regarding beer alcohol I'll be doing for the year 2018. And I am going to be undergoing a short alcohol fast for 2019. And my goal is, well, it's not really so much to just last, because I know I can go a long while without alcohol. It's been over a year since I had my last fast, but I feel like this is more like I need to go and change up how I want to go and record videos on other things, to be frank. And I also want to upload my backlog of videos, which is over a year long, which is going to take forever. So my goal is for 2019 is I'm not going to go and record any new beer reviews until I go and upload all the ones I have in the can there, so as to speak. Also, I'm kind of not really reviewing something today. I'm more doing a retrospective because yeah, massive bottle of beer here. This is the Anchor Brewing Winter Ale. Merry Christmas, Happy New Year. This is 2016. So this was at Whole Foods, and I picked this up last Christmas, and I guess they still had it in stock, and didn't bring it out again until this Christmas. And it's kind of sad for me. And you may ask, well, why is that sad? And that's because Anchor isn't really being carried by Whole Foods anymore. This is kind of like overstock after a fashion. And why isn't it being carried anymore at Whole Foods? Or at least the Whole Foods chain in Hawaii. And to a lesser extent, other grocery stores, liquor store, high-end liquor stores in Hawaii can still find Anchor Steam pretty easily, but basically all the rest of the line is really hard to find. And I'm going to kind of go into that, and this is also going to be a little bit of a discussion about the beer industry. But just a moment, let me go and. Sorry, Kyle. The doves are starting to hit my chicken's food, so that means I gotta go and bring it in. Without much further ado, I think we should just go straight into the beer. Why? Because I had like an energy drink on an empty stomach, and right now I kind of need something else in there, because I feel like almost there's battery acid up in there right now. So this is 6.5 ABV, and I believe I reviewed the 2016 one fresh. So I've already had one bottle of this at a Christmas party. Ooh. Peeling it off here. That there. And where's my opener? Oh, here it is. So this is about 1 quart and 1 pint, so about 4 beers altogether, 52 ounces, fluid ounces. Okay, and this is kind of going to be a pain in the butt to go and pour out. So, I don't have the upper body strength to kind of do it right. Okay, this is glugging, which means it's going to form a head and a half. Okay, there we go. Actually, that was a really good pour for something that's oversized here. You can see, barely even hit it. Actually, I think this is what that's for. I'm going to stick it on, move this and stick it on it. And you have something of an airtight seal. Great! Unfortunately, my fridge is too small to store this upright, so on the outside it stays. But that's okay. A winter warmer can be had warm. In fact, probably should have it a little bit warmer than it is right now. It's got that lovely herbal, licoricey, anisey, all spicy kind of winter warmer smell to it. The more flowery aspects have dissipated because most of the hops have dissipated, hop bitterness and hop smells. On the palate, just full on, malt forward, malt backward now. There's still a little bit of hop bitterness in the mids, but nowhere near the finish or the front or anything like that. Rich brown bread, hints of almost Christmas fruitcake, especially in the front there. And his candy. And a nice malty roastiness in the finish. Just pure malt roasty bitterness there. Like a good medium roast coffee. Rich, round, and velvety mouthfeel. The 2 years of aging have really taken the edge off this ale. Not that there was much edges to take off, but it lowered the hop profile, which is all great with me. I love these darker things with just only a little wisp of hoppiness. Absolutely. And so, you may be wondering, going into it now, you may be wondering, well, why don't you find Anchor Brewing stocked at the stores anymore here in Hawaii? And it kind of boils down to a dilemma that a lot, excuse me, a lot of the middle tier brewers are and what I mean by middle tier is, you know, beyond the small little nano brewery startups that are, you know, just from a single branch, you know, service a small area, versus those that serve multiple states across the USA and export to Canada, Mexico, Europe, what have you, is that little gray area where you have brewers that service, you know, a statewide area, a greater metropolitan area, and that's where the crunch is kind of coming in, money-wise and distribution-wise, in that there's a fight over shelf space. There's only so many beers that can be stocked. And what brings people to go and stock things up? Well, basically social media profile, popularity profile on one hand, and partnerships on the other. Now, going into the popularity social media thing, part of that is chasing trends. So that's why there's so many IPAs nowadays, is people just kind of chasing trends. The next big thing, hazy IPAs, hazy New England style IPAs with big juicy bums, which I'll probably never review again because once you've had about 3 or 4 of them, you pretty much had them all. And everyone releases that. everyone just feels this treadmill to constantly release new things. And that's really hard even for an experienced brewer to go through, because it's just, it takes a lot of time for someone who's a master brewer to go and come up with a great beer. And sometimes you don't want to come up with a great beer along the lines of the next big thing. Jim Koch of Boston Brewing, Sam Adams, the maker of Adams, he hates IPAs, and I kind of don't agree with him. I'm kind of getting to that point because there's so many crap-ass ones being released now that even his company has been forced to release not only a line of IPAs, but put multiple IPAs in the box set and shunt aside basically the kind of beers that he wants to do, which is more subdued lagers and Belgian-style beers. Really set. He likes to make session ales, and that's not really the thing nowadays. But Boston Brewing, has one thing on its side, and that is that it is a very large national brewer at this point. And with such a profile, you can find it in even country supermarkets in the state of Hawaii. So they are not having the problem of distribution that a lot of brewers are having. And the problem with distribution is such because if you can't get your beer on the shelves, then you can't sell your beer. So, and it becomes sort of a catch-22 where people feel that a brewer is selling out when they either link up with a larger brewer, a macro brewery like say Budweiser through the Craft Beer Alliance, or Miller Coors kind of acquiring, basically all these macro breweries are starting to acquire portfolios of craft breweries. Goose Island probably being the highest profile in recent memory, but Lagunitas is also that, acquired by the same folks who own Heineken. And for that matter, Anchor Brewing, acquired by the Japanese company that owns Sapporo. So basically, the brewer that sort of was the proto brewery of the craft brewing revolution that had its misty kind of convoluted start in the 70s is now owned by one of the biggest Japanese brewers, one of the biggest brewers in Japan. And so Sapporo has pledged to have a fairly hands-off sort of approach to the management of Anchor. And for the most part, they have had a very so far as I know, as just a consumer and a big fan of Anchor Brewing, they have pretty much been hands-off. Most of the problem with Anchor and why perhaps they are losing shelf space has been with the inheritors of the brewing side of Anchor. So the guy who not the founder of Anchor, but the person who bought Anchor back when it was a floundering local brewery in 1965, Fritz Maytag, has retired several years back, and new head brewers have been hired on a contract basis. And it really does seem like decisions are being made at Anchor that aren't really wise business decisions. Prudent business decisions. And what do I mean by that? Well, Anchor under Maytag ran itself in a very old-fashioned manner. They had some great beers that they spent a lot of time working and developing, and they would only release a new beer once, maybe every few years or so. Or, you know, I shouldn't say that because they did go and tweak the recipe on certain seasonal ones every year. But the point is, they weren't constantly pushing beers out, constantly, you know, having a new beer every season. And that changed. They really felt the need to kind of chase trends towards the end of the Maytag era and into the new brewing era, where they started pushing out beers, you know, to keep up with that treadmill. And these beers were not as high quality. And if you go through my reviews, you'll find that the Myers Lemon review, where I kind of gave a meh review to that, and you know me, I don't really pan beers, so a meh review kind of says something. I try to always give the benefit of a doubt. And so there was this feeling that they were pushing out these beers that did not live up to the Maytag legacy. Moreover, they were pushing out beers, you know, removing beers from their portfolio that had a very long legacy. The small beer, for example. Anchor was one of the first and also one of the only people to be brewing beer from second run malts. And that was something that was very traditionally done in brewing. You made a barley wine, a really heavy beer, and then you would do a second run through the malts and make a lighter beer out of it. And it was an excellent example, one of the first examples in America of a beer with a very, very low ABV that was still great on flavor. You know, it was still a true beer. It wasn't soda water with alcohol in it, which is what most light beers are. It still had presence, you know. And it did that at only 3.2 ABV. And that really says something, you know, and that just got removed from the portfolio. Why? Well, obviously it didn't sell too well, because really, really light beers, even really, really light craft beers, they have trouble selling now. You don't really see an ESB. You don't really go and see milds being made anymore, because people don't want to go and drink beers that are lighter than 5.0 ABV. Because they don't want to go, they want their money's worth, and, you know, if they want something that'll be twice as strong, you know, that costs around the same as a very sessionable beer. And that's just fashion, but that's what it is. But, still, so you have Anchor kind of pushing out old beers, really hallmarks of the craft of brewing to kind of chase trends, to put it as it were, and not being very successful at it. Whoever is in charge of the business decisions, brewing decisions there, it always seems to be a little bit behind the curve and not really getting what they're stretching for there, and that's had a real impact on them. And I haven't really had a chance because, like I said, they've lost distribution, so I can't really go and drink Old Foghorn or their current iterations of beer. I heard that they made some sort of blueberry concoction recently, which just sounds... Well, Fritz Maytag isn't dead, so you can't spin in his grave. Long may he live, but I hope that he's okay with this. Let me just put it that way. You know what I mean? But you get what I'm saying here. You know, you get what I'm trying to stretch for here. That the man's legacy, the man in the brewery's legacy is not really being respected, are honored, and I can understand why, what the decisions, what's driving these decisions. But at the same time, you have one of the not one of the oldest breweries in California, but one of the oldest craft breweries too. One of the things that started this entire thing, and it's just being chopped apart and dispersed. And I want it. I'm gonna stick to it. They're making bad business decisions, but by my viewpoint, but they're also not really being abusive. They're not putting out bad beer. They're not putting out tainted beer, spoiled beer. So they're still making quality beer, especially with their traditional recipes that are still on the listings. And I hate to be like this because I don't really have a solution for them, because they really are one of those breweries that are stuck in the middle tier, where it seems like the competitors in California, in the West Coast, which is really overstocked as it is, are just kind of 1 to 2 steps ahead of them. And I can't really tell them what it is, like, oh, you guys got to do this. But I can say what they are doing right now isn't really working for them, and that really makes me sad, because I love this brewery. I am really invested in, well, not invested money-wise, but invested emotionally and personally in Anchor Brewing, because Anchor Steam was the beer, my Arcadian beer, the beer that I could be happy drinking solely for the rest of my life. And I want them to survive and thrive for another 100 years. And I'm really passionate about that. And I doubt that anyone at Anchor is going to see this. And I don't want them, if they do, let me put it this way. I know you guys have had to make some hard decisions. You guys who are there right now. I don't think they worked, so I hope you guys aren't really trying to go and continue down this particular path, and instead try to make decisions differently. They may not succeed either. Like I said, I don't know how to go and get you out of that mid-tier hell right now. Sapporo, I guess you guys can rely on Sapporo to make, lean on Sapporo more, lean on getting your guys' distribution better. And don't make blueberry beer. For God's sake, don't make freaking blueberry beer. God, don't. Just don't. Okay? Don't. But lean on Sapporo more. That's why you have a macro brewery, as having ownership of you, is so you can get good distribution. If you're not getting distribution in Hawaii, where Sapporo has shelves even in country supermarkets because of the high profile Sapporo has in Hawaii, then something's wrong. You need to lean on them to get better distribution. So that's the one perhaps suggestion I can make. Other than that, guys, try to innovate, try to figure out something, and I'm with you in support of the beer, in support of your great brands, great historical brands, and yeah. I want to see you guys on the shelves again here in Hawaii. I want to see more than just Anchor Steam. I want to see the rest of your line there, and I want you guys to bring back some of the old ones that aren't being made anymore, because they were good beers. So that's your beer retrospective for tonight. Again, probably won't be reviewing anything for a while, because I just want to go and get things uploaded, try to make videos on other things. But I hope this got 25 minutes, man. I think, yeah, but with my upload ratio, I could probably put on 25 minutes. That's your beer retrospective for 2018, and I probably should make a beer whiskey retrospective for each year. I was kind of passionate about this, so yeah. Enjoy good beer. I'm going to go and enjoy the rest of this. Got some leftover turkey and stuffing to go and heat up, and I'm just going to enjoy myself for the rest of tonight. Cheers.